Welcome to my channel, my friends. Do you ever feel like you study English every day but still can't speak it in real life? You know the words, you know the grammar, but when it's time to talk, your mind just goes blank? In this video, I'll show you how to make English a natural part of your daily routine, so you don't just study English, you live it. Tell me in the comments. Do you also forget English words when you need them most? Chapter 1. The Morning English Habit. Every morning is a new beginning, but for most English learners, it starts in their own language. The moment they wake up, their thoughts, their feelings, even the little voices in their head speak in their mother tongue. And that's where the problem begins. If you start your day in another language, your brain stays there the whole day. You can watch English videos, read English books, and still feel like English is far away. But what if I told you that you can train your brain to wake up in English? That one small habit can make you speak more naturally than hours of studying ever will. I remember the morning it all started for me. I woke up, looked in the mirror, and said, "Good morning." Just two simple words. But they felt strange in my mouth, almost heavy. My tongue wasn't ready. My brain was still sleepy and shy. I wanted to say more, but my thoughts came in my native language first. I stood there for a moment, then smiled and said again, "Good morning, Adam. How are you today?" And something changed. For the first time, I started my day in English. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't smooth, but it was real. That morning I realized something powerful. Fluency doesn't start in classrooms. It starts with how you begin your day. The words you use in the first few minutes after you wake up decide what language your mind lives in. So I decided to build my own English morning routine. I didn't change my life overnight. I started small. Every morning, I said a few English sentences out loud. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making coffee. I feel sleepy. I spoke softly, but I spoke. The words started to flow like warm sunlight entering my brain, and slowly, English stopped being just a language. It became my morning friend. At first, I felt silly. I laughed at myself sometimes. I thought, who talks like this? But then I realized, babies talk like this when they learn their first language. They repeat simple things again and again, and it works. My confidence grew each morning. Soon, I added new things to my routine. While brushing my teeth, I listened to a short English podcast. While making breakfast, I played English songs and sang along. I didn't understand every word, but I didn't care. I was training my brain, not testing it. I started to feel English instead of just learning it. Every small moment became a lesson. When I looked outside the window, I described what I saw. It's sunny today. The street is quiet. The birds are singing. Those little sentences built my fluency. My mornings turned into practice time without pressure. I wasn't studying. I was living. I realized that the best way to learn English is not through fear, but through repetition and emotion. When you connect English with your morning feelings, like joy, peace, or even tiredness, it becomes part of you. There was a morning when I felt down. I didn't want to practice. I just wanted to stay silent. But then I whispered, "It's okay, Adam. Today will be a good day." And I said it in English. That small sentence lifted my mood. English became not just my language but my motivation. It reminded me that I was improving, even on bad days. The more I spoke, the more natural it became. My mornings were no longer empty or rushed, they were full of meaning. When you speak English in the morning, something magical happens. You start thinking in English for the rest of the day. You catch yourself describing things automatically. You don't have to translate anymore. You begin to live in English. This is what real fluency feels like. Not memorizing grammar, but using the language as part of your everyday life. So tomorrow morning, don't just check your phone, don't just think about work or school. Take one deep breath, smile, and say, "Good morning" in English. Then say one more sentence, maybe about how you feel or what you plan to do. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. I used to believe that big changes came from big actions, but now I know the truth. Big changes come from small, daily habits. My English morning habit changed everything for me. It made me confident, it made me alive, and it all began with two simple words: good morning. So from tomorrow, make English the first thing you speak. Let it be your morning friend, your morning mirror, your morning motivation. Because when you start your day in English, your day becomes your classroom, and you don't just learn English anymore, you live it. Chapter 2. Speak to yourself through the day. When I first heard someone say, "Talk to yourself in English," I laughed. It sounded crazy. I thought people would think I'd lost my mind. But later I realized that this simple idea was one of the most powerful secrets to fluency. You see, the person you spend the most time with every single day is yourself. You talk to yourself in your head all the time, when you make a plan, when you worry, when you dream. So, if that voice starts speaking English, everything changes. At first, I only did it when no one was around. I whispered small sentences while washing dishes or walking alone. "I'm cleaning the table. I'm feeling hungry. It's hot today." They were simple words, nothing special. But I noticed something surprising. My brain started to respond faster. English didn't feel like a subject anymore, it felt like part of my thoughts. Slowly, I stopped translating from my native language. I didn't have to think, "How do I say this?" The words just came out. It felt like magic, but it wasn't magic. It was daily practice that turned into habit. I remember one moment very clearly. I was walking to the market, and without realizing, I started describing everything I saw. "There's a red car. That child is smiling. The shop is closed." Suddenly, I stopped and smiled to myself. I was thinking in English. Not because I forced it, but because I practiced it through self-talk. That moment felt like victory. It was small, but it was mine. That's when I decided, I will keep talking to myself every day. Of course, in the beginning it feels strange. You may feel shy even when you're alone. You might wonder, what if someone hears me? But here's the truth. The more you talk to yourself, the more confidence you build. You stop being afraid of how you sound. You learn to trust your own voice. And one day, when you finally talk to someone else in English, it feels easier because you've already practiced with the most patient person in the world, you. During the day, I created small moments for English. When I cooked, I described what I was doing. "I'm cutting the tomatoes. I'm adding salt." When I walked to work, I made small conversations with myself. "What will I do today? I hope everything goes well." These tiny lines trained my tongue and my brain to stay ready. Even when I was quiet on the outside, I spoke inside my head in English. My thoughts started using English rhythm and words. That's when I truly began to live the language. Sometimes I made mistakes, and I heard them. But I didn't stop. I corrected myself gently. "No, not he go, it's he goes." Okay, better. Talking to yourself gives you space to notice your errors without shame. There's no teacher judging you, no friends laughing. It's just you, learning with kindness. That's the safest classroom you can ever have. Every sentence, even if it's broken, builds confidence. Every correction teaches you something new. One day, I decided to record my self-talk on my phone. At first, I didn't like my voice. It sounded strange and slow. But after a few days, I noticed improvement. My sentences were smoother. My voice was more confident. I began to feel proud of the progress I was hearing. I was teaching myself to speak English just by using my day. No books, no pressure, just real practice in real life. The best part about self-talk is that you can do it anywhere. When you're stuck in traffic, talk about what you see. When you're cooking, explain the steps. When you're tired, talk about your feelings. I'm tired, but I'm learning. I can do this. It turns your daily life into an English movie where you're both the actor and the narrator. You stop being a student and start being a speaker. You start to sound more natural because you're using English the way it's used in life, not just in textbooks. There were days when I forgot to do it. On those days, I felt something missing, like silence in my mind. Talking to myself had become part of who I was. It made my day brighter. It gave me energy. It made me realize that fluency isn't about how many words you know, it's about how many times you use them. Each time you speak, even to yourself, you build muscle in your language brain, and that muscle never disappears. So, if you're watching this right now, I want you to try it. Right after this video, say something in English. Maybe describe your room. Maybe talk about how you feel. Maybe ask yourself a question like, what will I do next? You don't need anyone to listen, you just need to start. The more you talk, the faster your English will grow. You'll notice that your thoughts begin to change language without effort. That's when you'll know you're no longer learning English, you're thinking in English. It all starts with one brave moment, when you stop waiting for the right person to talk to, and you start talking to yourself. Because that voice in your head can become your best English teacher. And the best part? It's always with you. Every hour. Every day. So, keep speaking to yourself. Speak with kindness. Speak with courage. Speak with joy. And one day soon, you'll realize that the person who once feared English now speaks it freely, confidently, and beautifully. All because you learned to talk to the one person who always listens. You. Chapter 3. Learn English from what you do. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is separating study time from real life. They open a book for 30 minutes, memorize a few words, close it, and think learning is done for the day. But the truth is, English isn't something you switch on and off. It's something you live through everything you do. Your kitchen, your phone, your street, your daily routine, these are your classrooms. Every small action can teach you English, if you let it. I remember the day I truly understood this. I was holding my toothbrush in my hand, staring at it, and suddenly thought, wait, what is this called in English? I had been using it every single day, but I'd never paid attention to its English name. That moment opened my eyes. There were so many things around me that could help me learn, if I only noticed them. The mug on the table, the towel, the mirror, the window. Each one was a word, a sentence, a small English lesson waiting to happen. So, I made a new rule for myself. I would learn English from my life. I started by labeling things around my room. I took small sticky notes and wrote simple English words: door, chair, phone, window, lamp. Every time I walked by, I said the word out loud. It felt like I was bringing English into my home. My house started to look like a little English world. Slowly, my brain started remembering the words not as separate vocabulary, but as part of my life. I didn't need to memorize them, they were everywhere I looked. Then I took it further. When I cooked, I described every action in English. I'm boiling water. I'm cutting onions. I'm adding salt. Cooking became my speaking practice. When I washed clothes, I said, "I'm folding my shirt," or "The clothes are dry." When I cleaned the room, I said, "I'm sweeping the floor." I turned my daily chores into daily speaking sessions. There was no stress, no fear, no grammar books. Just me, my actions, and my words. It was amazing how fast I started learning. I didn't need to sit down with a dictionary anymore. I was learning naturally, like a child learns their first language. Every time I used an object, I remembered its English name. Every time I did something, I made a sentence. And those sentences became part of my brain. I could feel myself growing without even realizing it. Sometimes, I made little games for myself. For example, when I walked outside, I looked for 5 new English words. I looked at signs, packages, shop names, or product labels. I tried to pronounce them, guess their meanings, and later checked them online. I called it my daily word hunt. It was fun, simple, and surprisingly effective. You'd be amazed at how much English is already around you, you just need to pay attention. One day, I saw the word receipt on a small piece of paper after shopping. I had seen that word before but never really used it. That evening, I practiced sentences like, "Can I have a receipt, please?" And "Don't forget your receipt." The next time I went shopping, I said it confidently to the cashier. She smiled, handed me the receipt, and replied in English. That tiny moment made me feel like a real English speaker. That's how powerful daily life learning can be. It gives you real results in real situations. Sometimes, English learners think they must wait for a perfect time or a perfect place to learn. But the truth is, your life is your school. The way you walk, the things you touch, the conversations you hear, all can be English lessons. Even your phone is your teacher if you let it be. I changed my phone's language to English. At first, I got confused. I didn't know what some buttons meant. But in just a few days, I started understanding everything. I learned new words like settings notifications and storage without opening a single grammar book. My phone was teaching me English while I used it. The best part was how natural it felt. I wasn't studying anymore, I was living in English. And because I was connecting English to my daily life, it became unforgettable. You never forget the word toothbrush when you see it every morning. You never forget receipt when you use it in a real store. Learning became part of breathing, walking, eating, doing. It was no longer a subject, it was life itself. And maybe that's the secret we all miss. English doesn't want to stay trapped in your notebook. It wants to move, breathe, and live through you. So, don't wait for a teacher, don't wait for the right time. Start now. Look around your room and find 5 things you know in your language but not in English. Write their names, say them out loud, use them in small sentences. Tomorrow, find 5 more. In 1 week, your English world will feel 10 times bigger. One day, you'll notice something beautiful. You'll be doing something simple, maybe cooking, maybe walking, and you'll realize your thoughts are automatically forming English sentences. That's when you'll smile and say to yourself, "I don't just study English anymore, I live it." Because when you learn English from what you do, you don't just grow your vocabulary, you grow your confidence, your memory, and your connection to the language. And that connection, once it's built, never goes away.
Chapter 4. English with people around you.
When I first tried to speak English with real people, I froze. My heart was beating fast, my mouth was dry, and my mind went completely blank. I had practiced alone, I had repeated sentences, I had watched videos. But now, standing in front of another human being, everything disappeared. I wanted to speak. The words were there, but they hid somewhere deep inside me. Maybe you know that feeling too, when you understand everything in your head, but your tongue refuses to move. That's how I felt, and that's how I learned my most important lesson. You can't learn to swim by watching others swim. You have to step into the water. You have to speak. At first, I avoided English speakers. I was scared they would laugh at me or not understand me. I made excuses. My English isn't ready yet. I'll speak when I'm better. But the truth was, I was waiting for confidence to magically appear. It never did. One day, I met a tourist in my city. He asked for directions in English. My heart jumped. I wanted to help, but fear said, "Stay silent." Still, something inside me whispered, "Say something." So I smiled and said, "Yes, I help you." My grammar wasn't perfect, but his smile was. He understood me. That small moment changed everything. I realized I didn't need perfect English. I just needed courage. After that day, I started practicing English with people around me, little by little. I greeted my classmates in English. I said good morning to my teacher. I thanked shopkeepers in English. Some people were surprised, some laughed softly. But I didn't care anymore. I was not trying to impress anyone. I was trying to grow. And the more I spoke, the easier it became. Each word I said in English made me stronger. I discovered that most people don't care if your English is perfect. They care if you're sincere. Your effort, your smile, and your kindness speak louder than your mistakes. There was one friend who always helped me. We used to mix our languages, half English, half native words. It sounded funny, but it worked. We didn't correct each other all the time, we just tried to communicate. Sometimes we laughed at our mistakes. Sometimes we repeated the same sentence 5 times until it sounded right. Those conversations were full of laughter, energy, and learning. That's when I realized that English isn't about rules, it's about connection. When you speak to someone, you're not only using words, you're sharing a moment, a feeling, a part of yourself. I also started joining small online language groups. The first time I joined a group call, my hands were shaking. I didn't want to unmute my mic. But when I finally spoke, the people there were kind. They said, "Good job, even though my sentences were simple. That encouragement gave me confidence I'd never felt before. Talking to real people reminded me that English was not just a school subject, it was a bridge between me and the world. Even when I didn't have anyone to talk to, I practiced imaginary conversations. I imagined I was in a shop, buying something. I imagined talking to a friend or asking for help. I spoke out loud, as if someone was really there. It might sound funny, but this helped me so much. Later, when I actually faced similar situations, the words came naturally, because I had already practiced them in my imagination.
Teamwork. Of course, not every conversation went well. Sometimes people didn't understand me. Sometimes I made a mistake and felt embarrassed, but I learned to smile and say, "Sorry, can you repeat that?" Or "I'm learning English."
Most people respected that. They slowed down and helped me. That's when I learned something beautiful. You don't need to hide your learning journey. You can share it. When people see your effort, they often become your teachers without even knowing it. Every person around you is a chance to learn. Your friend, your classmate, your shopkeeper, even your younger sibling, anyone can help you practice. You don't need a foreign teacher to start speaking. You can create your own speaking world. Greet your friends in English. Ask your family small questions like, "How are you today? Do you want tea?" Or, "What's for dinner?" Mix English into your real life, and it will slowly become part of your personality. One day, I realized something powerful. The same people who once laughed at my broken English were now asking me for help with their sentences. That's the power of consistency. When you practice daily, your growth becomes visible. Your voice changes. Your confidence shines. You stop being afraid of others because you've already faced your biggest fear, speaking. And maybe that's what fluency really means. Not being perfect, but being brave enough to use the English you have, right now, with the people in front of you. Every conversation you start, no matter how short or simple, is a victory. Each word spoken is a step toward your dream. So, the next time you meet someone, try one English sentence. It doesn't matter if your grammar isn't perfect, just say it. Say hi, say thank you, say nice to meet you. Those 3 words could be the start of a new chapter in your English journey. Don't wait for perfect confidence, create it. One small conversation at a time, because confidence doesn't come before speaking, it comes after it. When you use English with people around you, you don't just learn words, you learn connection, courage, and the joy of being understood. And that joy will keep you going every single day. Chapter 5: English in Entertainment. When I first started learning English, I thought I had to spend hours reading textbooks. I believed that watching movies or listening to songs was just wasting time, but I was wrong. Entertainment became the secret door to my fluency. It made me fall in love with English without feeling like I was studying. It was fun, easy, and powerful. I didn't just learn grammar, I started feeling the language. It all began one evening when I watched a cartoon in English. The characters were talking fast, and I didn't understand most of the words. But something interesting happened. I noticed their expressions, their emotions, their tone. I could guess what they meant even without understanding every word. That's when I realized English is not only about words, it's about rhythm, feeling, and sound. I started watching that cartoon every night. At first, I used subtitles. Then I tried without them. Slowly, I began to recognize familiar words and phrases. What's going on? Let's go. Are you serious? Those simple lines stayed in my mind like songs. Entertainment taught me what books couldn't, the real English that people actually use. Textbooks told me, how do you do? But movies taught me, what's up? Songs taught me, I'm gonna not I am going to. It was like entering a secret world where English was alive. I started copying the way actors spoke. I repeated their lines again and again until I sounded like them. This little game became my shadowing practice. It didn't feel like study, it felt like play. Soon, I made English entertainment part of my daily routine. Every morning, while getting ready, I listened to an English song. At lunch, I watched a short English video or a funny clip. In the evening, I watched one episode of a simple show. I didn't force myself to understand everything. I just enjoyed it. The more I listened, the more I understood. My ears started recognizing words automatically. My mouth started copying the sound naturally. I didn't even realize how much I was improving, until one day, I caught myself singing a whole English song without stopping. Sometimes, I would pause the movie and repeat a line. I tried to match the voice, the tone, the feeling. It made me laugh, but it also made me better. My pronunciation improved, my confidence grew. It was like practicing with actors who never judged me. When I didn't understand something, I didn't feel bad. I reminded myself that even babies don't understand everything they hear, they listen first, and meaning comes later. So I kept listening. I trusted the process. Music was another teacher. Songs are full of emotion, and emotion helps you remember. I started with slow songs so I could catch the words. I searched for lyrics online and read them while listening. Each song became a story I wanted to understand. I learned new words without trying to memorize them. Lonely dream, strong hope, these words touched me deeply because I felt them in the songs. I began to see that English wasn't just a language, it was a way to express feelings I couldn't before. Even YouTube helped me. I followed English channels about things I loved: travel, food, learning, motivation. Because I was interested, I never got bored. That's the secret. When you enjoy something, your brain learns faster. Every word feels lighter. Every sentence sticks longer. You start to look forward to your English time. You're not forcing it anymore, you're craving it. I remember one day I watched a full movie in English. No subtitles. I didn't understand everything, maybe only 60%, but I felt proud. I realized that fluency isn't about knowing every word, it's about understanding the story, the feeling, the meaning behind it. That was the day I stopped calling myself a learner. I started calling myself a speaker. If you want to improve your English, make entertainment your teacher. Watch what you love, listen to what moves you. Sing out loud, repeat lines, laugh, feel. Don't worry about mistakes. The more you expose yourself to English through fun, the more natural you'll sound. Remember, you don't learn to speak by memorizing, you learn by living, and entertainment helps you live the language every single day. So tonight, when you sit to relax, don't feel guilty for watching that English movie or listening to that English song. You're not wasting time, you're learning, you're growing, you're building your English brain without even realizing it. And one day, you'll smile when you notice that your favorite shows and songs don't need subtitles anymore because English will already be a part of you. Chapter 6. Reflect and Write in English. Writing scared me more than speaking. When I spoke, my mistakes disappeared in the air. But when I wrote, they stayed on paper, staring back at me like little reminders of what I didn't know yet. That fear stopped me for a long time. I told myself, I'll start writing when my English is better. But one day, I realized something important. Your English doesn't become better before you write. It becomes better because you write. Writing is not the end of learning. It's the beginning of understanding. I started small. Each night before sleeping, I wrote 2 or 3 simple sentences about my day. I went to work. I was tired. I met my friend. It looked so basic, but it was real. It was my life in English. It made me feel connected to the language in a new way. When I wrote those small lines, I wasn't just learning grammar, I was recording my story. And that made English feel like mine. At first, I made many mistakes. I used the wrong tenses, missed articles, and sometimes wrote sentences that made no sense. But I didn't delete them. I left them there. I wanted to see my journey, not hide it. Every mistake was a sign that I was learning something new. Later, when I read my old notes, I smiled. I could see my growth, how my sentences had become longer, clearer, more confident. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was improving. I could see it in my own words. Then I added one more rule. I would always write in English, even when I didn't feel like it. Some nights, I wrote only one line. Today was a hard day. Some nights, I wrote a full page. I learned new words, and I feel proud. It didn't matter how much I wrote. What mattered was that I kept going. The consistency made me stronger. My writing habit became my mirror. It showed me how much I was growing, and it gave me space to think deeply in English. One morning, I read one of my journal pages out loud. Something magical happened. The sentences sounded like me, not like a student reading from a book, but like a person expressing real thoughts. That's when I understood the power of writing. When you write, you train your mind to organize thoughts in English. You start to build connections between words and feelings. And when you speak later, those same words come out naturally because you've already used them before on paper. Sometimes, I wrote about my dreams. One day, I want to travel abroad. I want to talk to people from different countries. Writing those dreams in English made them feel closer, more real. It was like telling the language itself, I'm ready to grow with you. English stopped being a goal. It became a friend I spoke to through my notebook. You don't need a fancy diary or perfect handwriting to start. You can use your phone, a small notebook, or even the Notes app. The important thing is to express yourself. Don't think about grammar too much. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Just write. Write about what you saw, what you felt, what you learned. If you don't know a word, skip it or describe it in another way. The goal is not perfection, it's communication with yourself. Writing also helps you slow down. In a world where everyone rushes to speak, writing gives you time to think. You start noticing how words fit together. You see patterns. You understand grammar naturally, not because someone told you, but because you discovered it through practice. That's what makes writing powerful. It teaches you silently, patiently. After some weeks of journaling, I noticed something wonderful. My speaking improved too. My sentences became smoother. I didn't pause as much when I talked. It was like my brain had already built the sentences before, and now they were ready to come out. Writing was not only helping me express the past, but it was shaping my future. There was one night I'll never forget. I had a bad day, and I wanted to quit learning. I opened my notebook and started to write. I'm tired. I want to stop. But then, I read what I wrote, and I added one more line. But I won't stop, because I've come this far. That one sentence changed my whole mood. It reminded me why I started. Sometimes, writing gives you strength you didn't know you had. Perhaps. So tonight, try it. Take a notebook. Write one line in English about your day. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be honest. Tomorrow, write another, then another. Soon, you'll see that your notebook isn't just filled with words, it's filled with progress. It's filled with you. Because when you write in English, you're not only learning a language, you're building a story, your story. And one day, you'll read those pages and realize how far you've come. So, keep writing, keep reflecting, keep growing. Let your English words tell the story of your beautiful journey. Chapter 7. From Routine to Lifestyle. There comes a moment in every learner's journey when English stops being a task and starts being a part of who you are. It doesn't happen suddenly. It happens quietly, like sunrise. One day, you wake up, say, "Good morning," in English. Talk to yourself while brushing your teeth. Listen to an English song on your way to work, and write one small sentence before bed. You realize that English is not something you study anymore. It has become something you live. That's what happened to me. The day English became my lifestyle. When I first began, everything felt forced. I had to remind myself to practice. I had to plan my learning hours. But over time, small habits turned into natural actions. English slowly became the background music of my life. I didn't even notice when it happened. One morning, I caught myself thinking, I need to buy milk today, in English. No translation, no effort, just natural thought. I smiled because I knew this was fluency. Not perfect grammar, not a fancy accent, just natural thinking. The truth is, real fluency doesn't come from pressure. It comes from repetition with love. When you add English to your daily life, it starts living inside you. It walks with you, eats with you, laughs with you. You start connecting every part of your day with it. Watching a movie becomes learning. Writing your to-do list becomes practice. Talking to your friend becomes progress. You stop separating English time from lifetime. Everything becomes English time. I remember sitting at a cafe once, writing in my English journal. A stranger heard me talking softly in English to myself and smiled. "You speak very well," he said. I thanked him, but deep down, I smiled even bigger, not because of the compliment, but because I hadn't realized I was speaking English out loud. That's when I knew English had truly become part of me. It wasn't something I had to switch on, it was always there. To reach that point, you have to build connection, not just knowledge. You have to treat English like a friend, not a subject. Talk to it, listen to it, spend time with it daily, even when you're busy. Just like you brush your teeth or drink water, you can't skip it. Consistency is what turns a routine into a lifestyle. When you practice a little every day, you teach your brain that English is normal, not something extra, not something heavy, just part of your rhythm. There were days when I didn't study at all, but I still lived in English. I listened to a short podcast while cooking. I read a product label while shopping. I described my thoughts before sleeping. Those small actions didn't feel like study, but they made a huge difference. They built fluency in a natural way. Learning became effortless because it wasn't forced. It was part of everything I did. Some people think they need to move abroad to become fluent, but that's not true. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You just need to let English live in you. Make your room, your phone, your songs, your journal, all speak English. Build your own small English world wherever you are. If you surround yourself with the language, you'll start breathing it. You won't have to chase fluency. It will come to you. I know it's not always easy. Some days, you'll feel tired. Some days, you'll make mistakes and feel like you're going backward. But remember, every habit has a hard beginning. Every lifestyle starts as a choice. You can choose today to live your English, not just learn it. Wake up and say one sentence. Watch one video. Write one line. Think one thought in English. Do it again tomorrow, and again. One day, you'll realize you don't need to remind yourself anymore. It will happen naturally. When English becomes your lifestyle, it changes more than just your speaking. It changes your confidence. It changes the way you see yourself. You start feeling proud because you know you've built something real, not with talent, but with consistency. You start believing in your ability to grow. You start dreaming in English. That's when you know, this is no longer a routine. This is your life. I used to say, I'm learning English. Now, I say, I live in English. That small change in words means everything. Because once English becomes part of your daily rhythm, you don't lose it. It stays with you, grows with you, and opens new doors every day. And one morning, when someone asks how you learned English so well, you'll smile and say, I didn't just learn it, I lived it. So, if you're watching this, remember, your routine can be your biggest teacher. Every small action matters. Start living your English today, and let it become your companion in everything you do. You don't need to study harder. You just need to live smarter. English isn't far away. It's already with you. In your day, your words, your life. If this video inspired you, take one small English action today. Speak, write, listen, or think in English for just 5 minutes. Then tell me in the comments, what part of your day will you start in English? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who dreams of speaking English fluently. Remember, fluency isn't about studying harder, it's about living English every single day.